The throne room of the Draconian palace gleamed under 3 suns, but the Empress felt no warmth. She slumped on her crystalline throne, scales dull from stress, watching another smoke trail rise from the nursery wing. That made 18 fires this week alone. Your Majesty, I cannot continue. The latest caretaker, a Thrillian with armored plates thick enough to stop plasma bolts, limped into the throne room with singed clothing and trembling hands. The hatchlings they are beyond my abilities. The Empress closed her eyes. 17 others had said the same thing. 17 highly trained professionals from across the galaxy had walked away from the highest-paying childcare position in known space. Some lasted days. Others barely made it through an hour. Her 3 babies, Flame, Ash, and Spark, were only 6 months old, but they had already earned a reputation that spread across star systems. They breathed fire hot enough to melt titanium. Their telepathic screams could crack crystal sculptures from 50 feet away. They bit through supposedly indestructible toys like they were made of paper. And worst of all, they seemed to enjoy the chaos they created. The royal advisor, a nervous creature named Pip with too many eyes, shuffled forward with a data pad. Your Majesty, there is one more candidate. Though I hesitate to even suggest it. Anyone, the Empress said, exhaustion heavy in her voice. I will try anyone at this point. She is from Earth. A newly contacted world. The humans have applied to join the Galactic Childcare Guild, claiming they have experience with difficult younglings. The Empress had heard of humans. Small. Fragile. No natural armor or weapons. They survived on their primitive world through something the reports called persistence and adaptability, which seemed like polite ways of saying they were too stubborn to die properly. Send her in. Pip's eyes widened. Your Majesty, perhaps we should conduct interviews first, review her credentials. Now, Pip. The doors opened, and the Empress sat up straighter, preparing to meet another doomed professional in expensive protective gear. Instead, Katie Brooks walked in wearing faded blue jeans and a t-shirt with some kind of earth beverage stain on the shoulder. Her brown hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked tired, the kind of tired that lived in the bones, but her smile was genuine. And strapped to her chest in a colorful fabric carrier was a tiny human infant with bright, curious eyes. The Empress stared. This was the expert? This exhausted woman with a baby? You brought your own infant? The words came out sharper than intended. Katie shifted the baby gently and shrugged. Where I go, she goes. This is Lily. She's 6 months old, teething, and thinks 3 a.m. is party time. But we manage. She looked around the throne room with appreciation. Wow, this place is gorgeous. The crystal work must be incredible in direct sunlight. Pip sputtered from behind his data pad. Miss Brooks, do you understand what you are applying for? The Imperial hatchlings are extremely dangerous. They have injured trained professionals. They have destroyed property worth millions of credits. And you want to bring your own helpless offspring into that environment? Katie's tired smile widened into something more confident. See, that's where everyone gets it wrong. Lily isn't helpless. She's actually my secret weapon. Secret weapon? The Empress leaned forward, intrigued despite herself. Kids get kids, Katie said simply. Adults see danger and rules and problems to solve. But babies? They see other babies. They don't care about species or scales or fire breath. Lily sees playmates. She bounced the infant gently. Plus, I've spent 6 months surviving on 2 hours of sleep, dealing with explosive diapers, and interpreting screaming that could wake the dead. Your hatchlings breathe fire? Lily once projectile vomited across an entire restaurant. I'm not easy to scare. The advisor made a choking sound. Your Majesty, this is absurd. We cannot allow. 3 days, the Empress interrupted, studying Katie carefully. There was something about this human. She did not have the rigid confidence of the trained professionals. Instead, she had the worn, battle-tested calm of someone who had survived in trenches. The Empress recognized it because she had felt the same way since her hatchlings were born. 3 days, she repeated. If you survive, we discuss a permanent position. If not, she let the sentence hang. Katie nodded. Fair enough, but I'll need a few things. A safe space where I can retreat if things get hairy. Baby supplies for Lily. And someone who can teach me basic dragon body language so I don't accidentally insult them. Pip's eyes goggled. You want to learn their body language? Madam, they are infants. They have no language yet. Sure they do, Katie said, adjusting Lily's carrier. All babies do. You just have to pay attention. She looked directly at the Empress. Your Majesty, I survived colic and teething. I've dealt with tantrums in grocery stores and diaper blowouts at family dinners. I once spent 40 minutes convincing Lily that the ceiling fan was not, in fact, trying to eat her. How hard can dragons be? The Empress felt something she had not experienced in months, a flicker of hope. This strange, tired human with her stained shirt and easy confidence might actually believe what she was saying. And perhaps belief was what they needed. Show her to the nursery, the Empress ordered. And Pip? Clear the medical bay. Just in case. As Katie followed the advisor out, the Empress heard her talking to her baby. Well, Lily girl, looks like you're about to make some interesting friends. Remember, be nice, share your toys, and try not to get us killed, okay? The baby gurgled happily. The Empress watched them go and wondered if she had just hired a miracle worker or signed a death warrant for two innocent humans. The answer would come soon enough. From the nursery wing, she heard a rumbling roar that shook the palace walls. Katie Brooks was about to meet her new students. The nursery doors slid open with a soft hiss, and Katie stepped inside with Lily secured against her chest. The room was enormous, easily the size of a basketball court, with high ceilings reinforced with some kind of heat-resistant metal. Scorch marks decorated the walls like abstract art. Shredded toys littered the floor. The air smelled like sulfur and smoke. And in the center of the chaos stood 3 baby dragons. They were smaller than Katie expected, each about the size of a large dog, but what they lacked in size they made up for in presence. Their scales shimmered in shades of deep crimson, ash gray, and bright orange. Wings, still too small for flight, tucked against their sides. And their eyes, oh those eyes, glowed with an intelligence that was almost unsettling. 3 sets of those glowing eyes locked onto Katie and Lily immediately. Katie's heart hammered in her chest, but she kept her breathing steady. She had read somewhere that predators could smell fear. Whether that applied to baby dragons she did not know, but she was not about to find out the hard way. Hey there, she said softly, keeping her voice light and friendly. I'm Katie. This is Lily. We're here too. She did not get to finish. Flame, the biggest of the 3 with scales the color of hot coals, opened his jaws wide. For a split second, Katie saw the glow building in the back of his throat, like looking into a furnace. Then fire erupted. Katie's instincts kicked in. She twisted her body and dove behind a twisted metal play structure, curling herself around Lily to shield her daughter completely. The heat washed over them, intense enough that Katie felt her skin prickle. The metal structure groaned and glowed red where the flames hit it. The temperature in the room jumped 20 degrees in seconds. Any other species would be screaming. The Therilian had screamed. The Krillian had screamed. Even the battle-hardened Vex warrior had screamed before fleeing. But Lily was not screaming. Katie felt her daughter squirming against her chest, and when she looked down she saw Lily's face lit up with pure delight. The baby's brown eyes were wide and sparkling. Her tiny hands reached out toward the dissipating flames like they were the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. And then Lily laughed. Not a nervous giggle or a frightened cry, but a bright, genuine belly laugh that only babies can make. The kind of laugh that is completely fearless because babies do not understand danger yet. The fire stopped immediately. Katie peeked out from behind the metal structure. All 3 hatchlings had frozen in place, staring at them with expressions that could only be described as shocked. Their glowing eyes were wide. Their mouths hung slightly open. Spark, the smallest one with orange scales, even sat down hard on her haunches like someone had pushed her. Well, okay then, Katie muttered, slowly standing up. Her legs shook slightly from adrenaline, but she kept her movements calm and smooth. Lily bounced in the carrier, still reaching toward the dragons with both hands. Katie took a breath and smiled at Flame. That's very impressive, Fire, yes it is. So bright and warm. She kept her voice in that sing-song tone parents use with babies, enthusiastic but not threatening. But we don't breathe fire at new friends, do we? No, we don't. Friends are gentle with friends. Flame tilted his head, clearly confused. No one had ever responded to his fire like this before. No one had ever called it impressive and then calmly explained boundaries like he was a toddler who had just thrown a block. Ash, the gray-scaled middle hatchling, made a low rumbling sound deep in her throat. Her eyes narrowed. Then she lunged forward with surprising speed, jaws snapping toward Lily. Katie's stomach dropped. She started to move to protect her baby, but Lily was faster. With the reflexes only babies seem to have, her chubby hand shot out and grabbed Ash's snout mid-lunge. The room went completely silent. Katie held her breath. Time seemed to stop. Everyone, including the observation team watching through hidden cameras, expected blood. But there was no blood. Ash froze with Lily's tiny hand wrapped around her snout. The dragon went cross-eyed, trying to look down at the fingers gripping her nose. It should have been threatening. It should have made the dragon angry. Instead, Ash just looked confused and slightly ridiculous. Lily squealed with absolute joy and patted the dragon's scales with her other hand. The scales were warm and smooth, like sun-heated stone. Fascinating. Then Lily did what she always did when she was happy and exploring something new. She made a huge, wet, sputtering raspberry sound with her lips. Spit bubbles and all. Right in Ash's face. All three hatchlings tilted their heads in perfect unison, like they were synchronized. They had never seen or heard anything like this before. What was this tiny, soft creature? Why was she not afraid? And what was that ridiculous noise? Spark took a tentative step forward, chirping softly. It was a curious sound, not aggressive. Flame lowered his head slightly, sniffing toward Lily without getting too close. Katie felt the tension drain from her shoulders. She was not out of danger, not by a long shot, but something fundamental had just shifted. The dragons were not attacking. They were curious. Yeah, Katie said softly, smiling as Lily continued patting Ash's snout like it was the family dog. We're gonna be just fine. Ash slowly pulled back from Lily's grip, but instead of retreating or attacking, the dragon sat down and kept staring at the baby. All three dragons watched Lily with intense focus, like they were trying to solve a puzzle. For the first time since they hatched, the Imperial nursery was quiet. No fire. No screaming. No destruction. Just three baby dragons and one human baby figuring each other out. Katie let out a long breath she did not know she had been holding. Day 1 was not over yet, but they had survived the first 5 minutes. In her book, that counted as a win. Day 3 had arrived faster than Katie expected. She had survived 2 full days with the dragon hatchlings, which apparently made her the longest-lasting caretaker in the palace's recent history. Her reward was tackling the most dangerous task yet, feeding time. The Empress watched from her private chambers, eyes fixed on the observation screens that showed every angle of the nursery. Her advisor Pip stood beside her, nervously tapping his data pad. They had both seen this disaster play out 17 times before. Feeding time was when the hatchlings were at their worst. It brought out every aggressive instinct they had. They fought over food like it was a matter of life and death. They bit each other, breathed fire, and turned meals into war zones. The last caretaker had ended up with second-degree burns just trying to distribute their portions. On the screen, Katie entered the nursery carrying 3 metal bowls of raw meat, some kind of protein the palace kitchen prepared specially for dragons. The meat was still bloody and fresh, exactly how the hatchlings preferred it. Lily was strapped to Katie's back this time, giving Katie both hands free to work. Katie's strategy was simple but deliberate. She placed each bowl in a separate corner of the room, creating maximum distance between the hatchlings. Okay guys, she called out. Breakfast time. Flame, yours is by the window. Ash, you're over by the toy box. Spark, sweetie, yours is near the door. The 3 dragons immediately rushed to their bowls and started tearing into the meat with enthusiasm. So far so good. This was how every other caretaker had tried it. Keep them separated. Keep them focused on their own food. But Katie was not done. She walked to the center of the room and sat down cross-legged on the floor. She unstrapped Lily from her back and settled the baby in her lap. From her bag, she pulled out a small jar of mashed sweet potato, Lily's favorite food this week, and a soft rubber spoon. The Empress leaned closer to the screen. What is she doing? Pip's eyes multiplied their nervous blinking. She's feeding her own offspring? While the hatchlings eat. Is she not concerned they will see her as competition? Katie seemed unconcerned. She opened the jar with a soft pop and scooped up a spoonful of the orange mush. Here comes the airplane, she said in that silly voice parents use, making whooshing sounds as she guided the spoon to Lily's mouth. Lily opened up and gummed the sweet potato happily, getting more on her face than in her mouth as usual. Katie smiled and wiped her daughter's chin with her thumb. From her corner, Spark paused mid-bite. The smallest dragon's head lifted, nostrils flaring. She was not looking at her own food anymore. She was watching Katie and Lily. Katie scooped another spoonful and offered it to Lily. But this time, Lily did something that made Katie's heart skip a beat. The baby grabbed the spoon with both chubby hands and turned it away from her own mouth. Instead, she held it out towards Spark, who had crept closer. It was pure instinct. The kind of sharing that babies do before they understand the concept of possession or ownership. Lily saw another small creature and wanted to share her food. Simple as that. Katie's first instinct was to pull the spoon back. This was dangerous. This was how caretakers got hurt. But something stopped her. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was intuition. Or maybe she just trusted her daughter's instinct more than the palace's rules. She did not stop Lily. Spark crept even closer, eyes locked on the spoon. The little dragon sniffed the orange mush suspiciously. What was this strange substance? It did not smell like meat. It did not smell like anything in the dragon diet. Then Spark sneezed, a powerful full-body sneeze that sent a jet of flame shooting sideways. The curtain near the window caught fire immediately, flames crawling up the fabric. Oh, for the love of... Katy grabbed a nearby blanket and smothered the fire in seconds. She had gotten good at this over the past 2 days. Fire extinguishing was now part of her routine. Spark, seemingly embarrassed by the sneeze, looked back at the spoon. Then very carefully, the dragon extended her forked tongue and licked the sweet potato. The Empress held her breath. Pip's data pad clattered to the floor, forgotten. Spark's eyes widened. The taste was strange. Not meat. Not anything she had experienced before. But it was sweet and smooth and somehow pleasant. The little dragon chirped, a happy sound, and licked the spoon again, more enthusiastically this time. Then Spark did something that made Katy's eyes water. The dragon nuzzled against Lily's face, a gesture of pure affection. It left the baby covered in dragon drool and soot, but Lily just giggled and patted Spark's scales. Flame's head shot up from his bowl. His eyes narrowed. The biggest dragon abandoned his half-eaten meat and stalked toward the group. Jealousy radiated from every scale. Ash was right behind him, wings flaring slightly in a display of dominance. Katy tensed, ready to grab Lily and run. This was it. This was where everything fell apart. But Lily, completely oblivious to danger, just scooped more sweet potato from the jar with her fingers and offered sticky handfuls to both approaching dragons. Bah! She declared, which was her word for basically everything. Flame sniffed the offered sweet potato. Then, shocking everyone, he licked it from Lily's fingers with surprising gentleness. Ash muscled in beside him, demanding her own taste. Within minutes, the scene had transformed completely. All 3 dragons and 1 human baby sat in a circle on the nursery floor. The jar of sweet potato passed between them, sometimes held by Katy, sometimes clutched in Lily's messy hands, sometimes carefully balanced on a dragon's snout. They took turns. They waited patiently. They shared. There was no fighting. No fire. No aggression. Just 4 babies eating together like it was the most natural thing in the world. The Empress felt something crack inside her chest, that tight, painful knot of worry she had carried for 6 months. Her vision blurred with tears she did not know she could still cry. On the screen, Lily laughed as Ash got sweet potato smeared across her snout, making the dragon look absolutely ridiculous. Impossible, Pip whispered beside her. The Empress shook her head slowly, unable to look away from the screen. No, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Just, human. Nap time. The final frontier. The ultimate test of any caretaker's skill. Katy had learned from the palace staff that dragon hatchlings needed approximately 17 hours of sleep per day to grow properly. That sounded like a dream come true. 17 hours of quiet, peaceful rest while the babies recharged. Except there was a catch. A big one. The hatchlings woke up every 20 minutes. Like clockwork. And when they woke up, they did not just yawn and roll over like human babies. They woke up breathing fire at shadows, attacking each other, and generally treating sleep time like it was a personal insult. The previous caretakers had tried everything. Darkness. Noise machines. Temperature control. Sedatives approved by the royal veterinarian. Nothing worked. The hatchlings would drift off, then 20 minutes later, chaos would erupt again. Katy stood in the nursery on day 5, looking at 3 very cranky, overtired baby dragons. They had been awake for nearly 6 hours straight, which was way too long for creatures their age. Flame kept breathing little bursts of fire at nothing. Ash was chewing on her own tail in frustration. Spark just whimpered pitifully, too tired to even play. Lily was not doing much better. She had that glassy-eyed look babies get when they are past the point of exhaustion but too wound up to sleep. Katy knew that look well. It meant trouble if she did not act fast. All right, Katy said, settling down on the pile of cushions the palace had provided. Everybody over here. It's sleepy time. The dragons looked at her with suspicion. They knew what sleepy time meant. It meant lying down and pretending to rest before the nightmares started again. But they trusted Katy now at least a little. So they dragged themselves over, Flame flopping down on her left, Ash on her right, and little Spark curling up near her feet. Katy positioned Lily in the center of the group, creating a little nest of warm dragon bodies around her daughter. It should have been terrifying. Instead it looked oddly cozy. Then Katie did something none of the alien caretakers had ever thought to try. She sang, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." Her voice was soft and gentle, just above a whisper. The melody was simple, repetitive, soothing. It was a song human mothers had sung to human babies for thousands of years, passed down through generations. The hatchlings' eyes opened wider. Their heads lifted slightly. What was this strange sound the human was making? Katie kept going, adding hand motions like her own mother had done for her. "How I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky." Flame's breathing slowed. Ash stopped chewing her tail. Spark's eyes started to droop. There was something hypnotic about the rhythm, the gentleness, the pure calm in Katie's voice. Lily, nestled in her warm dragon nest, started making her own contribution to the concert. She had recently discovered a new skill that she found absolutely hilarious: making raspberry sounds. She would purse her tiny lips and blow, creating wet, sputtering noises that sent spit bubbles everywhere. She turned her head toward Flame's massive snout and demonstrated her new talent. Splat! Right on his nose. Spit and bubbles everywhere. Flame's eyes went wide. He went completely still, like someone had pressed a pause button. Katie held her breath. This could go very wrong very fast. Then something incredible happened. Flame tried to copy the sound. His first attempt was a rumbling, wheezing noise that came from deep in his chest. It sounded like a volcano trying to beatbox, or maybe like a motorcycle engine attempting to purr. It was absolutely ridiculous. Lily stared at him for a moment. Then she burst out laughing. Not a polite chuckle or a small giggle, but a full belly laugh that shook her whole body. The kind of pure, infectious laughter that only babies can produce. The kind that makes everyone around them want to laugh too. Ash perked up immediately. She tried making the raspberry sound herself. Her version came out as a squeaky wheeze with a little flame at the end. Spark joined in with a sound like air escaping from a balloon mixed with a hiccup. All three dragons were now making the most absurd noises Katie had ever heard. They sounded like a broken orchestra, or maybe like musical instruments that had never been properly tuned. Each attempt was more ridiculous than the last. And then something magical happened. Something the Empress had never heard in 6 long months. The dragons started laughing at themselves. And at each other. Not mean laughter, not the cruel mockery of predators playing with prey. This was genuine, joyful laughter at how utterly silly they all sounded. Flame made his rumbling raspberry sound, and Ash snorted with laughter, which made her accidentally breathe a tiny puff of fire, which made Spark chirp with delight, which set all three of them off again. They were acting like kids. Just kids being silly together, finding joy in stupid noises and shared absurdity. In her private chamber, the Empress watched the screen with tears streaming down her scaled cheeks. Her babies were laughing. Actually laughing. Not roaring in dominance or shrieking in anger or breathing fire in frustration. They were giggling like the children they were supposed to be. She moved without thinking, her feet carrying her through the palace corridors faster than she had moved in months. She burst into the nursery just as all 4 babies, 3 dragons and 1 human, finally drifted off to sleep in a pile of tangled wings, tails and tiny human limbs. Katie looked up, startled by the sudden entrance, but quickly pressed a finger to her lips. The Empress froze, not wanting to wake them. For 20 minutes they slept. Then 30. Then an hour. The longest stretch of uninterrupted sleep the hatchlings had managed since they were born. When Katie finally stood up, careful not to disturb the sleeping pile, the Empress caught her arm. "What is this magic you possess?" Her voice was thick with emotion. Katie smiled, gently bouncing sleepy Lily against her shoulder. "It's not magic, Your Majesty. It's just love. And the courage to be silly when everyone else is trying to be scary." 3 months had passed since Katie Brooks first walked into that nursery with Lily strapped to her chest. 3 months that had changed everything. The Imperial Palace was buzzing with activity. Ships from across the galaxy descended onto the landing platforms. Delegates from 1,000 different worlds arrived in a steady stream, all summoned by the Empress herself. An emergency session of the Galactic Council was not something that happened often. The last one had been called during a border war that threatened 3 solar systems. Everyone assumed this would be about politics, territory, or military threats. They were wrong. Katie stood in the preparation chamber, adjusting Lily's outfit for the 3rd time. Her daughter was now 9 months old, pulling herself up on furniture and babbling in what Katie swore were almost words. Lily wore a little dress that the palace seamstresses had made specially for this occasion. Soft blue fabric that somehow resisted both drool and dragon soot. "You nervous?" asked Pip, who had become something of a friend over the past months. The royal advisor still blinked too much when stressed, but he no longer looked at Katie like she was insane. Terrified, Katie admitted, bouncing Lily on her hip. I'm about to speak to representatives from 1,000 alien civilizations. I'm a childcare worker from Ohio. 3 months ago, my biggest concern was finding a job that offered dental insurance. From the corner of the preparation chamber came 3 familiar sounds: snorts, chirps, and a low rumbling purr. Flame, Ash, and Spark had grown significantly in 3 months. They were now the size of ponies rather than large dogs. Their wings had developed enough for short flights. Their scales had taken on richer, deeper colors. But the real change was not physical. The 3 hatchlings were playing a gentle game of tag, weaving around furniture and each other with careful precision. No fire. No biting. No fighting. Just 3 young dragons having fun together. A younger dragon, Spark, bounded over to Katie and nuzzled her leg affectionately. Katie scratched behind the dragon's ear ridge, the spot that always made Spark's hind leg kick involuntarily. Still think I'm crazy? Katie asked Pip with a smile. The advisor watched the dragons play and shook his head slowly. I think you performed a miracle. The Grand Council chamber was beyond anything Katie had imagined. It was massive, with a domed ceiling that showed a real-time projection of the galaxy itself. Thousands of seats arranged in circular tiers held delegates of every shape, size, and composition imaginable. Some breathed oxygen. Some breathed methane. Some did not breathe at all. The Empress stood at the central podium, her scales gleaming under the chamber lights. She looked different from 3 months ago, younger somehow, less burdened. Her voice carried through the chamber without amplification, projected by technology Katie did not understand. I have summoned you here to propose the Human Child Care Initiative, the Empress announced. For 6 months, my hatchlings terrorized 17 trained professionals. They caused injuries, destroyed property, and earned a reputation across multiple star systems. Then a human arrived from Earth with nothing but patience, creativity, and her own infant. In 3 months she accomplished what no one else could. The chamber erupted in whispers. Delegates leaned toward each other, their various methods of communication creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and electronic tones. I propose that humans be granted authority to establish childcare centers throughout the Imperium, specializing in difficult or aggressive younglings of all species. A delegate stood, a being with 6 arms and a chitinous exoskeleton that clicked when it moved. Your Majesty, with all respect, humans are fragile. They have no armor, no venom, no natural weapons. They are soft-bodied and weak. How can such creatures be trusted with our young, especially those who display aggressive tendencies? The Empress gestured toward Katie. Perhaps we should ask the human herself. Katie's heart pounded as she walked to the podium. Lily bounced happily on her hip, completely unbothered by the 1,000 alien eyes watching them. Behind Katie, the 3 hatchlings followed like oversized puppies, staying close to their favorite human. Katie cleared her throat. Public speaking had never been her strength. She had barely passed her college speech class. But she thought about Lily, about Flame and Ash and Spark, about all the scared, misunderstood kids out there who just needed someone to see them differently. That's exactly why it works, Katie said, her voice steady despite her nerves. You're right, we don't have armor or venom or natural weapons. We're soft. We're vulnerable. And that's our strength. Confused murmurs rippled through the chamber. Katie continued. Humans don't survive through being the strongest or the scariest. We survive through connection, through understanding, through empathy. We learned a long time ago that you don't tame wild things by breaking them. You don't control aggressive younglings through force or fear. You love them until they choose to be gentle. You meet them where they are. You make them laugh. You show them that being soft doesn't mean being weak. She adjusted Lily, who had started squirming. Your species have incredible technology. You've conquered planets and crossed galaxies. But sometimes the solution isn't more technology or stricter discipline. Sometimes it's just someone willing to sit on the floor, share their snacks, and sing silly songs until everybody calms down. As if to demonstrate, Lily chose that exact moment to blow one of her trademark raspberries, that wet, sputtering sound she had perfected over the past months. All 3 dragon hatchlings immediately responded with their rumbling, ridiculous version of the sound. The acoustics of the grand chamber made it echo, filling the space with what sounded like a chorus of broken engines trying to sing. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then laughter began, starting small but spreading like wildfire. Human laughter mixed with alien equivalents. Clicks became amused. Whistles became joyful. Even the methane breathers in their sealed suits made sounds that translated as delight. The Empress let the laughter continue for a moment before raising her hand. The Human Childcare Initiative is approved by Imperial Decree. Ambassador Brooks will lead the program. Katie blinked. Ambassador? I'm not. I don't have any diplomatic training. You turned my untamable hatchlings into children who laugh and play and sleep through the night, the Empress said warmly. If that does not qualify you, nothing does. As Katie left the chamber, Lily waved her chubby hand at the dragons. All three bounded after them, their claws clicking on the polished floor. They were not the terrifying monsters from 3 months ago. They were just kids who had finally found someone who understood them. The galaxy was learning what humanity had always known. Sometimes the greatest strength is not the power to destroy. It is the courage to stay soft in a harsh universe. It is the ability to look at something dangerous and see someone who just needs love, patience, and maybe some sweet potato. And sometimes the most terrifying creatures in the galaxy just need someone brave enough, or maybe crazy enough, to make them laugh.